See? Find some berries for our dinner tonight. Enough for all of us, or don't come back.
Rise of the demon.
Many European folktales, like Hansel and Gretel, contain dark themes by contemporary standards. The original story explores cannibalism, child murder, and witchcraft, seeming perplexing for a children's narrative. Yet, given its medieval origins amid historical practices like cannibalism and witch hunts, the tale reflects the harsh realities of that era. The crazy period of time that most people just kind of forgot about. And indeed, what most people don't know is that Hansel and Gretel hides a very dark and very violent true story. To know, stay till the very end of the video, the Brothers Grimm. Let's talk about the Brothers Grimm. The Brothers Grimm, German academics, embarked on collecting and publishing folklore during a tumultuous era marked by Napoleon's invasion and the fragmentation of Germany. Perceiving a threat to German culture, they compiled fairy tales to safeguard literature for future generations. Contrary to common belief, their intended audience wasn't children but fellow scholars. This explains their inclusion of violent themes, evident in stories like Hansel and Gretel, among the hundreds they gathered during this pivotal period. Story source. Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm originally sourced the story from a woman named Dorchenfield, who would later become Wilhelm's wife. Over the years, the Grimms would make a number of alterations to this story. Motivations, aesthetics, and even some core messages would shift and really become more Christian. But the bones of the story remain the same. For that reason, it's relatively easy to see what circumstances led to the creation of Hansel and Gretel. Hansel and Gretel's story. In Germany, a desperate family faces starvation. The mother persuades the father to abandon their children deep in the forest, claiming it's a better fate than starving. Overhearing, Hansel secretly listens to this grim plan. The next morning, the parents lead Hansel and Gretel into the woods. Hansel cleverly leaves a trail of pebbles, ensuring their path home. In the forest, the parents instruct the children to make a fire and vanish under the pretext of gathering more firewood. Night falls, but the parents don't return. In the moonlight, Hansel and Gretel follow the pebble trail back home. While the father is elated at their return, the mother is furious and disappointed with their survival. This dark tale, rooted in a harsh reality, reflects the Brothers Grimm's collection of folklore during a challenging period in German history. Facing starvation again, the mother insists on abandoning Hansel and Gretel. The parents lead them into the woods, but Hansel's breadcrumb trail is devoured by birds. Lost for 3 days, the starving children discover a house made of bread and cake. A seemingly kind old woman invites them in, feeding them until they fall asleep. However, she's a witch who lures children to eat them. The witch locks Hansel in a chicken coop and forces Gretel to do chores, including overfeeding Hansel. Gretel, realizing the witch's intent, tricks her into the oven, burning her alive. As the witch screams, Hansel and Gretel steal her jewels and escape. Returning home, they reunite with their father, sharing the acquired riches. Sadly, they learn their mother died during their absence. This dark twist on survival mirrors the harsh realities of its historical context, capturing the Brothers Grimm's preservation efforts during a challenging period in German history. The tale's brutality contrasts with its ultimate reward, revealing the complexity of their collected folklore. Cannibalism Witchcraft. The most bizarre elements of the story, child abandonment and cannibalism, are rooted in historical truth. In the early 1300s, as agriculture spread across Europe, food became more accessible, leading to a population surge. However, in 1315, a mini ice age and extensive rain struck Europe, devastating newly planted crops. This sudden food scarcity left many in the European population starving, with essential staples like oats, salt, and wheat becoming prohibitively expensive. The soaring prices, combined with widespread death and impoverished families, led to desperate measures for survival. In the face of inevitable starvation, families like Hansel and Gretel's resorted to abandoning their children in the hope that they might have a chance at life or, at the very least, a less agonizing death. The grim reality of the Great Famine influenced the dark themes of the tale, reflecting the harsh choices families made during times of extreme hardship. But for these families, there was another option too. In Hansel and Gretel's story, the witch is hell-bent on eating the children. Indeed, in some extreme cases, starving families resorted to cannibalism. Initial recorded period. The severity of the Great Famine forced unimaginable choices upon families: sacrifice a child or face the demise of the entire family. In the desperate calculus of survival, some families, akin to the narrative in Hansel and Gretel, resorted to abandoning children to increase their chances of survival. Recorded by the Brothers Grimm in the 1800s, the tale likely originated in the 1300s, closely following the famine, reflecting the stark realities of the time. As folktales evolve through retelling, additional elements become intertwined. Witches, like the one in Hansel and Gretel, became a recurring theme in folklore worldwide. Notably, in Germany, the Middle Ages witnessed one of history's largest and deadliest witch trials. After the Great Famine, people sought scapegoats for the suffering, and witches became convenient targets. In a heavily Christian region, blaming witches allowed politicians to evade responsibility, while the working class found a place to direct their blame. Witch hunt. The German witch hunts were horrifying, particularly targeting elderly single women as perceived witches. Upon being charged with witchcraft, women were subjected to torture and imprisonment, with many ultimately facing execution by burning at the stake. In southwestern Germany, approximately 3,200 people fell victim to these ruthless trials, marked by extreme measures. In a shocking instance, a court ordered the massacre of 2 entire villages to eradicate alleged witchcraft. The indiscriminate nature of these trials meant that men, women, and children, including a 90-year-old priest, faced death sentences for purported witchcraft. Even children under the age of 12, about 50 in total, were executed. The situation spiraled out of control, with politicians accusing each other of witchcraft to secure power. Accusations from the lower class against the elite led to executions, revealing the rampant abuse of the witchcraft trials for various motives. Reality connecting the story. It's not surprising that much of German folklore, including Hansel and Gretel, revolves around defeating evil witches, reflecting the societal struggles of the time. In most modern renditions of the story, the mother transforms into the stepmother, a common trope in European folklore, and particularly in the Grimm brothers' tales. The evil stepmother motif might stem from a desire to uphold the sanctity of motherhood, as the Grimm brothers intended their stories to preserve German culture rather than cater to children. The prevalence of evil stepmothers also reflects the harsh social realities of the time, with many women dying in childbirth. Consequently, stepmothers were more common than in contemporary times. In these narratives, the stepmother often serves as a contrast to the virtuous birth mother, embodying cruelty and villainy. Notably, in Hansel and Gretel, the stepmother or mother meets her demise when the children kill the witch, leading to a speculative interpretation that the mother and the witch may symbolize the same person, adding a M. Night Shyamalan-esque twist to the story. Other similar tales. Hansel and Gretel's narrative, while not entirely unique, showcases elements prevalent in European folklore. It's challenging to discern whether these elements dispersed through Europe or if Hansel and Gretel incorporated fragments from other tales. Nevertheless, the tale's DNA is interwoven throughout European folklore. In the Italian story, Danilo e Nanella, an evil stepmother abandons her children in the woods, paralleling Hansel and Gretel. Similarly, the French tale Finette Cendrillon features a king and queen leaving their children in the forest, with one daughter creating a thread trail before encountering an ogre and a hag. In Little Thumb, another tale, children are abandoned in the woods, entering the home of an evil ogre and his daughters. The ogre plans to eat the children, but they cleverly trick him into murdering his own daughters, securing their freedom. These variations on the theme of abandonment, perilous encounters, and clever strategies suggest a shared cultural heritage in European folklore, where themes and motifs intertwine across different tales, reflecting the societal fears and challenges of the time. So just a few examples, there are literally dozens more stories that share plots and themes with Hansel and Gretel. Ultimately, Hansel and Gretel is not a true story. Not really, but it does reveal truths about the time and culture in which it was written. Its truths aren't always nice, but it certainly can be interesting. That's all for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Share your thoughts about the video in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and press the bell icon for all future updates. See you next time.